All right, I got no comment for that. I don't know about that for me. So, uh, hi, everybody, and welcome to the Philly Fan Radio. I'm John Myer, along with Dan Palmieri, and today's topic for our Season 3, Episode 2 is trade, rumors, combines, draft, and, all the other speculations. And Dan and I just want to record some shit, so we're just going to come on here and BS, so we really apologize if for some reason we go off the rails on any of this. I mean, Dan, for all of you 13 listeners, yes, we did gain one from our last one. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you.
Jesus Christ. People are going to start believing you.
Hey, you know what? We've got a lot of... First of all, TikTok is doing the best for us. We have over 100,000 views on our TikToks since late November. So... seriously, honestly, thank you for everybody that is liking, commenting, sharing. In fact, we are going to talk about comments in this section. We really appreciate things. Keep it up.
Yeah, definitely. The interaction is good. I've been trying to respond to some of them, trying to keep the engagement going. Some people respond back, some don't.
And avoid some vulgar responses, right?
Yes. The filter is on, friends. Yeah. Filter is on.
Well, speaking of that, let's get to some of the comments. Okay, so Jesse_Rio99. He says, or she says, apologize. Eagles rebuild time, unless they trade Hurts. First of all, what the hell are you talking about trading Hurts? It's not rebuild time. We are still in a good time. I mean, granted, offense is the line, whatever it is. And we got some things going on. And with the AJ situation, we'll talk on it. But... you're not trading Hurts. We've talked about this. It's so underappreciated.
This is why every week I bring up conversation sakes and comparisons and everything. I'm trying to get people to understand the age of football we're in and the type of player that we're getting. It's got to be a troll comment, but I'm going to respond to it because, it makes me feel like I have to respond. It's just to say rebuild. Why? You went to a Super Bowl. You went to 2 Super Bowls. You won one. Yes, he's lost 3 times in the first round. But you know what? That kind of gets trumped by the fact that he made 2 Super Bowls and won one. So what is there to rebuild? I mean, I just don't. I don't get it. I mean, I understand the hatred somewhat because of the fact that it doesn't always look the way you want it. But as I've said a million times on this podcast, as I've said a million times to anybody who asks me, when did winning become a secondary stat in the NFL? I don't care if they win 1-0, even though it's really not possible, but I don't care. It's a win is a win. I don't care.
We've talked about it all the time, and I think stats only matter when it comes to Hurts. Everybody else, they don't care. Oh, stats are really great, even though they've lost about 14 games. They're like, oh, but their stats look good. I'm right there with you, Dan. And Finster85, draft someone if there is a good QB there. First of all, there's not a good QB there. And second of all, we're not drafting a QB. That has been talked about. It has been a rumor in the draft of the Eagles are going to draft a QB. We don't really, the draft is like watching paint dry sometimes. It takes so long. But, this year I think Dan and I are going to be watching it heavily. Who goes in there? We're going to talk about the picks that are in there. But I don't think there's a reason for the Eagles, Howie, anybody to draft a QB.
No, and I don't understand why you would even think about using high draft capital on a quarterback. I mean, you sign the guy to this multi-year extension. He has, first off, to go back to the first thing, Hurts has a no-trade clause. First Eagle in history to ever sign a contract with a no-trade clause. So throw the trade out the window. That ain't going to happen. But then to draft a QB, you have holes that you need to fill. You have aging superstars. You have people that you're not going to be able to re-sign. You need that draft capital in order to replenish that talent. Why waste it on a guy that is only going to ride the bench? We're not going to have a Wentz-Hurts situation. You're not going to have a guy drafted high who's going to push for a starting job. As good as Wentz was, and he was great for a little bit, there's no way in hell that you could justify benching the Super Bowl MVP. It's just not going to happen, especially when his stats maybe not the flashiest all the time, but it's not like he puts up bad stats. I mean, his interception to touchdown ratio is always good. His completion percentage is pretty good. And that's all taking into consideration the fact that he has a different OC every year. So there's just no way in hell that you're going to even explore that. Now, will they say maybe draft a quarterback in the 5th round? Why not? At that point, you're pretty much throwing darts against the board anyway. They've had some success. I mean, there's also rumors going around that maybe they're going to trade Tanner McKee, try to get some value for him. I'm okay with drafting somebody in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, but those first couple of rounds, you need adequate talent to replenish this team.
Dan, I'm going to revise what I said, and only for the simple fact that you said if they get rid of Tanner McKee, we won't know if they get rid of Tanner McKee until later on, okay? They're going to try to get some stuff. I highly doubt they're going to try to make a move before the draft to get draft picks for him. If they do, hats off to it. But later on, they may trade it for next year's draft picks along with something else going on it. If they do select a QB in the 5th or 6th round or even Mr. Irrelevant, that's fine with me. Because there's no way that they're going to do that. Could potentially mean that they're not replacing Hurts, because if they were replacing him, it would be a first-round draft pick, even if they were thinking about it, which is really ridiculous. But when they pull Tanner McKee in there, he is actually really good. Granted, the one game he wasn't, but everything else we've seen him play has been, I'm proud to have him as a backup.
Yeah, he's a solid option. He's not one of those guys that is a bum out there. He had his struggles this past year, but who doesn't? It's a backup quarterback. So it's not one of those guys that if Hurts, God forbid, does get injured, you say, holy crap, the season's over. I mean, he is a guy that has proven that he has capabilities to execute the offense and play within the context of the game.
Yep, exactly. Now, our last comment, Eagles Clouder 33. Philly media really does find things to complain about more than the things to be happy about. Yes, you are absolutely right. 100%. Damn blue-collar media, they pick apart everything and they find all the things that are wrong and the speculation. They do include some of the trades, the rumors, and the visibility and their thoughts on it, but just like anybody else, and we hear it mostly because you're an Eagles fan and that's what your For You page is all about and flowing through. So be sure to follow us on TikTok. Hey, there's a little shout out for you, for everybody putting out that in the comments. But I agree with you.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I see why they do it. They try to drum up interest. They try to get storylines because it can be slow.
Little clickbait.
Yeah, exactly. But it becomes a point that it's toxic, and it really is. And when you have potential suitors coming in here for coaching and everything who literally call out the fact that the media is really rough and toxic, that becomes a problem because the media is then inhibiting you from hiring certain people. I mean, I'm just putting you from my perspective, okay? If I'm an outside coach and I've got a choice between a few different landing spots, there's no way in hell that I'm coming to Philly. I don't want to deal with that shit. I don't want to deal with that stress.
Not just the coaches, the fans.
Well, yeah, both of them. I mean, I don't want to have to deal with that shit. I don't want to be second-guessed every time I got to take a piss. I mean, it's just crazy. I'd go somewhere else.
Did I shake it 2 or 3 times? Did I use the right?
Maybe you should have shaken it this many times. Why did you shake it then? Yeah, it's.
How comes you didn't sit versus stand? No, I'm sorry. This is getting off the rails, but that is literally how Eagles fans and media do.
Yeah, and it is a shame. The stories are out there. I get most disappointed with the ex-players, to be honest with you. People like Hugh Douglas, people like Ike Reese, who don't necessarily come from the broadcasting background, so you'd think they'd give their real football analysis opinion, and they just seem to roll with the more outlandish takes of things, and I just don't get that.
Hugh Douglas is a big one there with always his reckless speculation. I don't know how many he has been right on it. I don't even think he's been right on a majority. He had the reckless speculation of, Hurts is the problem in the locker room, however you want to do it. Everything down to it. Here's what I want to comment with regards to Hurts. I think everybody should get off his freaking back. And if you look at the years that we had great OCs in there, Hurts has been great. So do you feel that it's like Hurts versus an OC? And if we had Kellen Moore for year 2, I believe things would have been different. I believe, Kellen Moore was a throwing quarterback coach. So he might have changed it back to his old mentality of we're going to throw now because they're thinking we're going to run. And I think we would have had an awesome year. And that would have played it in a part, not only in the offensive line. Hopefully he would have, you're sitting, you're injured. And AJ would have got what he needed so he can shut the fuck up. And everything would have been hunky-dory.
Yeah, and I think with in regards to the passing game, I think that the way that the offense was always structured, it is not a West Coast offense, okay? It's a more vertical down the field passing game, which I think is fine, but at the same time, Hurts and pretty much any quarterback that I see, really, that's not going to be a 70-30 split. You don't want to have a vertical passing game where the ball is traveling far down the field and pass it 70% of the time. I think that if we were to shift fundamentally to like a 60-40 split with us passing the ball more than running, I think that would be okay if we change the philosophy to the West Coast. More intermediate throws, more screen passes to the running backs. It's just a shorter passing game that are pretty much elongated runs, really. But it's not an offense, a vertical passing offense. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, Hurts' strengths do not lie in passing over the middle of the field. He is a great deep ball thrower, but he is not a timing thrower, which is
he can't thread the needle in there most of the time. Now, he has, don't get me wrong, he has done the thread the needle, but I think over the middle, down the center, that's where he definitely does struggle.
Yeah, and he struggles throwing with anticipation. He doesn't throw the receiver open. He waits for the receiver to get open, or he throws a contested ball in which the wide receivers catch. So that is a problem, okay? Throwing without anticipation.
Is that a conservative problem, though, because he doesn't want the interception? In fact, he barely had any this year.
If I'm being honest with you, it's just my opinion from watching him and watching tape of him. I think that he processes the game a little bit slower than some other quarterbacks. And what I mean by that is he's not necessarily one of those guys that will sit back there and go through his reads really, really quick. Like, okay, first read's gone, second read, third read. He can't go through them that quick. He doesn't process it that way. So I think you see him analyzing it and processing the read, and it takes a little extra for him. And by the time that he's processed what he's seen, I think it's just not there anymore. And that is a problem, but some people don't. I mean, some people can't read the defense as strong as Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or, other people. It's just, and the fact is that he doesn't have elite arm strength, okay? So he's not a Josh Allen where Josh Allen could read a play late, but he could still make that throw because he can throw it with such velocity. Hurts knows that he doesn't have that velocity, so he avoids making those controversial throws. My opinion.
Dan, I'm going to switch gears a little bit because a lot of our conversation hurts. And then the second one, which you know what? You and I do it just as much as everybody else. At the Combine, I think there was an interview with Howie and good old McKee talking about the AJ situation. Can we, what the fuck? Can we finally put this AJ shit to bed? And we've already speculated on how you can do it. Howie came out, and Nick was right there alongside him with the cheerleader, is that they want AJ. He's a great player. You signed it. He's basically said the same thing. I feel like it was scripted. But he said, we're not a good stewardess to our team if we don't listen to or think about the offers that come in, because you're ultimately doing it for the Eagles organization and not because of a player. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with what they said, because anything more or less would hurt them from a bargaining standpoint. So they're just giving you fluff out there, really? I don't see how A.J. Brown could be a member of this team come training camp. I don't. And you've seen the writing on the wall a little bit, not just with what A.J. Brown said. I mean, was reports, pretty much everybody validated it, that his agent was going around and gauging teams' interest in him. You know,
at the combine, right?
Yeah, right. And so, would you be interested in trading for my client? What are you willing to offer? That type of stuff. So obviously there is displeasure, unless his agent wouldn't even be bothering to look. So you know AJ wants to be out in some kind of way. So why do we keep putting ourselves through this exercise every year? If the guy's not happy, and I've tried to try to be in his headspace and figure out why he's not happy. I don't know. Other than something personal, I just don't get it. But I can't speculate on that. But anyway, I don't see him being a member of this team. And the asking price is very, very high for him, which I agree with, because everybody originally was saying, oh, well, you're only going to get a late second rounder at best. A.J. Brown still is a pretty good, well, almost elite talent in the league. Why would you only get a late second rounder for a guy that is the equivalent of a first round talent? I don't understand that. And he's not old. I think he's 28. So it's not like you're getting an aging superstar here.
No, I think the rumors were speculated or even confirmed that they wanted a first round and a second round for AJ, right?
Yeah. What he said, I think, is a late first rounder if need be. And if it is a late first rounder, they're looking for a second rounder.
So I agree. I don't think AJ should be here. And the reason is, and you tried to wrap your head around it, we've talked about this numerous times, is that it's detrimental right now to the team, whether they call it that or not. All the instances and all the things that are coming on, he has yet to come out. Nobody has said anything. Everybody's making fluff. Howie's, beating around the bush because he's trying to do his deals. And I do hope something works out. Dan, is there a possibility anywhere, not only with the cap, the structure, and how the NFL has, arranged things, not only within the season or things work, that they offload AJ before the draft because they're going to get draft picks for him?
From a financial standpoint, unless he restructures his contract, I don't see how.
They would have to restructure for the trade, because that's how it happened for him to come to the Eagles. That was part of the negotiating process, is that they had to restructure in order to do the trade.
Yeah, and you're not going to trade him if you're taking a huge hit. You're taking a pretty decent dead cap hit. You're not just going to offload him. It goes against with how he does. He goes against his principles of not putting yourself in that situation. The only time I can remember them cutting a player in which they handed a pretty good contract to and took on a good amount of dead cap is Bryce Huff. I mean, they're still paying that guy, and I don't even know where the hell he is anymore. But I don't think they're going to do that with AJ. But I think this whole situation it's going to be dictated by AJ. Does he want to be here? No. Well, then it's going to get to a point, if he really doesn't want to be here, that he's going to demand a trade. Right now, it's kind of that, is he demanding a trade? Is he not demanding a trade? Is he happy? Is he not happy? Because you get one report that contradicts the other report, so who the hell knows? I can only draw the assumption of what I think it is. I think he's unhappy. I think he wants a trade. And I think the Eagles will trade him. I don't know. It's going to be hard, because obviously if you designate him a post-June trade, then you're not getting draft capital for this year. So,
do they really need draft capital for this year, though?
Well, it depends. I mean, this draft, from what I'm reading, from what I've seen, is loaded up on receivers, and it's loaded up on the defensive line. Two areas in which obviously everybody wants. So it is a good draft to go out there and get first round talent in the second round if you're looking for an edge rusher or a wide receiver. So that is a good thing. I don't think that the Eagles are going to get a first and second round, first off. I could see them getting a late first rounder if I'm talking about a team like Buffalo or New England, because that's late first round, you kind of early second round, whatever you want to call it. But I don't see them getting too high picks for him. Maybe a decent player and a first. I don't know. I don't see them getting first and second round. I think that's one of those where your initial offer or your initial call out is really high, and then you let people come to you.
When I look at it, the Eagles have the 23rd overall pick, so they have a first round. They could technically get hopefully a decent wide receiver. If the Eagles do draft a wide receiver in the first round, I think I don't know if it puts a nail in the coffin. It will put a huge speculation that AJ is done and they're looking to trade him. Honestly, if for some reason AJ is still around, having a wide receiver drafted in the first round is not a bad thing. If he is done, then you got a wide receiver. And if you get him post-June trade, you bank whatever picks you have for 2027.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things that I saw, and I was listening to the radio on it, is that this is a horrible free agent wide receiver class. Absolutely dreadful. So you're not getting a guy that's a free agent right now that's going to necessarily be your wide receiver 2 if you decide to trade AJ. So you have to have a contingency plan. Whether that be you're going to replace him in the draft, whether that be you're going to trade, because there's nobody, like I said, there's nobody that's a free agent that's going to come in here and take over his spot as a number 2 wide receiver. So you're going to need that. Plus, you got to take into account that Jahan Dotson is a free agent. So you're not really strong in the wide receiver depth part right now, especially if you offload AJ. So you're going to have to get some kind of... You're going to have a plan. I'm sure Howie does, but I think they're going to draft. And like you said, you don't think that the nail in the coffin is if they draft a wide receiver. I do think that's the nail in the coffin. I think that if they haven't traded AJ by April, whatever is the draft, and they draft a wide receiver, I think you pretty much know that the Eagles' intention is to trade him.
I think it will be one of those, a huge speculation that
Surprise.
They draft it. Yeah, right. Not totally reckless, but AJ is done. I think it might push AJ and his agent at that point. If they do plan to draft a receiver in the first round, it will push it. If they designate it post-June trade, I think the first round might be in 2027 and the second in 2028 or something, or spread out, which will be a little more acceptable rather than the same draft series. The Eagles would go for that offer. To put this to bed for this episode, I'm with Dan. AJ will not be around come the start of the season, regardless in any capacity, whether they trade him beforehand or they post-trade. I think once he does get trade, I think he'll go to his Twitter or his Twitch and make some comments. Maybe, hopefully, people will start using him in fantasy, however he wants to put it.
Yeah, it'll be something stupid like I'm free or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be, I can catch the ball. So, anyway, Dan, kind of going on to it, we talked about it. Max Crosby is still out there. Nothing has happened, and he's actually potentially, the Eagles are watching the situation. Could be a kind of an interesting trade or swap of players. I think there's been a couple. I think, what was it? The Bears were speculated on, interested. Who else was there?
Cowgirls.
Oh, yeah. No, I'll tell you what. I don't know if I would be more threatened of him than Micah Parsons, like on the other side of the ball. But either way, if the Eagles land him, that would be pretty cool. It feels like a Howie Long situation where he comes over. I respect the guy. I don't think he was happy in the way that they forced him to sit in the last game, for them to go. But hey,
Yeah, I think that's all it is that the front office dynamic. I mean, he just signed that big contract with them, and he wasn't happy with the medical reports. He didn't want to sit out. And plus, he is getting a little older. And when I say older, I think he's turning 28 or whatever. So in football years, he's ancient. But in terms of actual human years, he's fine. But it does wear on you to play for a shit team and lose every year. That's why the argument of AJ going somewhere else is just so hard to fathom, is because he's on a winning franchise. And if he goes to a winning or a losing franchise and loses for like 3 years straight, he's going to be pissed. And he's
3
going to want
years.
out.
Oh my God, 3 games. He's going to sit on the sideline
well,
with his book and start tweeting on how upset he is.
Yeah. But I think Max Crosby would be a pipe dream. It would be an amazing pickup. It would. I don't know how it would happen, especially since I hear that Jalen Phillips is their target. They want Jalen Phillips, so I don't see how you would sign Jalen Phillips and then trade for Max Crosby. I don't see that happening.
I think, you know what? They got a great deal with Jalen Phillips. Granted, he's had some injury issues this past season. As soon as he came over from Miami, it was like he was only going to play a couple snaps. He played almost the entire game. He has been an impactful player since he's joined. Will they're going to invest money in Jalen Phillips and then bring Max Crosby over with some potential trade and some sleight of hand stuff? I agree. I don't feel that it's in the books while they would like it, but if something happens or his agent comes to him and says, hey, listen, we want to play on a winning team, unlike some other players that are on, the Eagles, and it's no longer about winning. It's about catching the ball. I think, there could potentially be some interesting stuff happening. Even though it's the off season, it's, there's always, what are we supposed to talk about? We got to talk about the rumors and the speculations and things that are happening.
Well, you got 6 days until the legal tampering starts, even though the NFL app has alerted us on trades that will happen, which is supposed to be illegal. That's supposed to be illegal. You're not supposed to have discussions with players or pretty much anybody.
Is it only
until
free agents or undrafted that you
No,
can't
it's
have?
trades.
Or is it current? Is it current players that you can't trade that, so that's really weird because the NFL app has been alerting Dan and I and everybody else that there's going to be a trade as soon as the new league year. And I'm like, Dan, I thought this is illegal. You have to wait for a window.
Yeah, I mean, the trade deadline passed in this past season, and the trade deadline is not activated again until the beginning of the league year, which technically is March 11th, but it's the 9th is illegal tampering. So you're not allowed to execute
2 weeks
trades.
ago, however it's been working.
Yeah, no kidding. You're not allowed to, do that, I thought, at least. Isn't that the reason why, it's part of the reason why the Eagles got in trouble for the whole Saquon. Now, he was a free agent, but he got in trouble because they were speaking to Penn State guy, or I don't know what the hell happened with that, but you're supposed to keep things in-house, and it seems like everything is leaked nowadays.
Purposely leaked. Ian Rappaport, Adam Scheffler is reporting this, and those are the guys that go to it. Almost like during the season where there were some leaks from in-house at the Eagles, which we believe was KP talking to a couple of his buddies on ESPN and speculate, hey, Hurts is the issue and nobody likes it, whatever, however they want to do it. How do you have a legal tampering period before, and then the league starts, but there's all these trades listed? I mean, it's confusing.
If you're going to allow that type of thing, then why not just say the day after the Super Bowl begins the new league year? Why even bother? Why have this lull period?
I don't know. Maybe they got to tighten up the books. Dan, one of the other things, though, is the NFL has increased the salary cap this year, which is great. Every year they do it. I think it was increased by $22 million, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. And it's noted that the Eagles have roughly, 13, 14 available at this moment. So we're not going negative into the year with the $22 million that they slapped onto it. But I mean, it's 13, 14 million. How much does that really give you in your negotiation and re-signing?
Yeah, well, there's a lot that you can do with that, and there's a lot of restructures. I think we like see it every year where a cap hit is really high for a certain player, and then they restructure the contract, and it's like saving them like astronomical amount of money. We see it a lot with Lane Johnson. He's restructured a ton of times.
Yep.
I think we've seen it with Mylata once. I mean, you get the gist of it, but there's ways around it. There's ways that they're going to negotiate and navigate that. So the 13 million is a fluid situation. It's not like they're tied to that. I think you're going to see some cuts here, maybe of players that were on the back end of the roster that may have like a 5 mil cap hit. So you'll see some of that savings come out, but it'll fluctuate.
Yeah, Howie will work his magic. I think some of the times that they restructure it, they convert it to guaranteed or signing or something like the bonus money, which gets that doesn't actually count towards the cap. So it allows you to get that money at a time. And the players, here's the thing, I wonder if they work it into their contracts that there could be a time that we restructure your contract beneficial to the team, but has to be mutual for both parties or something.
Yeah, it would make sense. I mean, as a player, why would you not want to restructure your contract if you're getting more money in your hand up front? Why delay that money?
Get it right away, and then it's to sign, and then on the back end, yeah, there's potentially where they can skim the salary cap lower, where the hit is not as much. If for some reason they want to trade you, want to let you go, it's beneficial for both teams. You get money, and then the Eagles get a chance to, spend it on for more players. Dan, the other rumor, now while it is a rumor, you and I have speculated on it a lot, is that Dallas Goedert will not be returning after 8 seasons with the Eagles this 2026 season. What does that feel like?
Yeah, it sucks. I kind of anticipated it because of the fact that I didn't see the Eagles dishing out the type of numbers that I think he's going to get on the open market, because of the fact that he is 31 and because he really has never put together a full season. He's been injured a lot, but when he's healthy, he is one of the best tight ends in the league. But again, it's an area where you can save some money, maybe get a different type of player there. As of right now, they don't have a tight end that is actually signed. So Calcaterra is free agent. Dallas Goedert's a free agent. So they're going to make a lot of moves. I think they're probably going to draft a guy. Tight ends don't typically go in like the first, second round, really. So they're probably going to get a third rounder tight end and probably sign like a veteran here. One name that I personally like is he is injured a little bit here and there, but Isaiah Likely. I liked him in Baltimore. I thought he was a really good player. He's a better pass catcher than blocker. But to be honest with you, I don't give a shit if a tight end can block or not. I just want them to catch the ball. So I like that guy. I hope they make a play for him, but it remains to be seen. He's going to demand a good amount of money too. Not Dallas Goedert money, but he'll demand a good amount.
Well, this past season, it was noted that Dallas Goedert really put up some numbers and some stats that set him up for a big payday, or supposedly a good payday here that's going to happen since he's no longer going to be an Eagle. So good for him. I'm not upset if he does. I mean, I'm upset if he does get traded, but I'm not upset if he does command a lot of money and he goes for where I would love to bring him back as an Eagle. I think Hurts relies upon him. He is a guarantee. He is a beast out on the field with not one, but sometimes 2 stiff arms and blocking. He's an all-around tight end that you want on your team. You want him putting max effort even though the ball's not coming his way.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I think it's one of those, it's not a football decision, it's a business decision. It sucks, but he's a guy that he's deserved to get the contract that he's going to get. He really has.
Yep.
I just don't think that Philly's going to give it to him. And it seems like from all the reports being out there is that that's just not going to be the case. He's going to move on.
Yeah, Philly has some other needs that they got to fill in, and unfortunately, giving him the money that he demands, some other players that are out there. I mean, Jalen Carter. I heard what was it, 124 million or something like that. There was some that
Yeah.
they are potentially doing it. Dan, I know you said they're not going to do it, or don't want them to do it. I think Jalen Carter, the way it is in the rooms I'm hearing, he's going to get his big payday.
No, I think the Eagles are going to definitely pay him. What I've said is that I don't agree with it. Yeah, what I said was I think the Eagles will pay it, but I don't feel like a defensive tackle not named Aaron Donald should get that kind of money because you're talking about elite defensive end type money. Carter is an impact player, absolutely. But do I think he's a generational player that should be allocated to get, I don't know, 30, 35 million or whatever it's going to cost? I don't feel like that's the case. I think that you can get similar production to two different players for that kind of money. I don't know. He demands a lot of double teams. Yes, he is a great player. Yes, he has character concerns, which will go against him a little bit. He was injured this past year. It seems like he's doing fine now. I just don't like the idea of giving a guy who, at times, can be forgotten. There are times in the season where you're like, where the hell's Jalen Carter? Why is he not making an impact? Aaron Donald made that kind of money and was an impact player, even though he wasn't getting even though he was getting double teamed all the time. I don't feel that's the case. The only other player that I would say deserves that kind of money in the league is Chris Jones in Kansas City because he's putting up those high numbers every single year. Jalen Carter really hasn't put up those high, eye-popping stats. So I wouldn't give him that kind of money. I know they are. I know they're going to give him that kind of money, but I wouldn't.
Jordan Davis is actually one of the guys that I would probably give that type of money in that instance. I think Jalen Carter came into this league this year not at the position that or the weight and the focus that Vic would have liked.
Absolutely.
I think you build in his contract is that he has to get football ready shape. And, speaking bluntly, lose some weight and get a little more aggressive. Now, I understand you're losing weight, you lose the leverage on some, but you look at Aaron Donald, he was perfect. He was able to get off and get in there and still with the double teams. You and I even said during some games, Jalen Carter's name's not even announced. Like he's not getting, you should be able to get off some double teams or, fight your way through it. Now, he did have some phenomenal plays this past season, so that will go for him, but he had some, some attitude issues going to it. But, yeah, they're going to pay it, and, we're going to have to, eat that money and, figure out how else we can pay other players.
Yeah, and I think the thing that put me closer to the avenue of I wouldn't pay him that kind of money is when he was out, Brandon Graham, of all people, slid inside to play defensive tackle. And honestly, I heard Brandon Graham's name called more when he played at defensive tackle than I did Jalen Carter when he played at defensive tackle. So I saw greater production from the others playing defensive tackle when Jalen Carter was out than I did when he was in. So that's another reason I just wouldn't back up the Brinks truck to him when I know that there's other avenues that I would do, because on this defense, for instance, there are a few players that I would literally give a blank check to. Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Zach Bond, and honestly, that might be it that I'm thinking of that would warrant a top-tier type of contract.
Adoree Jackson?
Oh, yeah. I would give him...
Keely Ringo?
I would give him so much money that he would just want to move to a different state. Absolutely.
There's some good cornerbacks available that are coming up that the Eagles should kind of look potentially at for trading that are going to be open, I think, in the free agency. So
Yeah. Let's get some trade value for Keely Ringo. He'll get a lot on the open market.
what are we going to get? Not even Mr. Irrelevant on that shit. Yeah, you ain't getting rid. In
It'll
fact,
be
we
an
have to pay to
MLB
get rid of
trade.
him.
Yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
an MLB trade. Cash considerations. Player to
Yeah.
be named later.
Yeah, that's exactly that's exactly how that will be. Dan, before we wrap things up, there's two other topics that we want to talk about. Well, actually three. I'm going to throw a third one in there. We haven't talked about Saquon Barkley in a little bit. What are your feelings that Saquon gets back to Saquon? And I believe you mentioned it, and we both agree he's not going to have his 2,000-yard season. But the OC coming in, Sean Mannion, does put in a lot of effort to keep Saquon going, and the stats will be, I don't want to say phenomenal this year, but they'll definitely be better than this past year.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to be better than what we saw. I think a lot of that will come with the fact that I think the offensive line will be healthier. Landon Dickerson coming back. We hope, will be healthy. Cam Jurgens coming back. He should be healthier. Lane Johnson's got a full offseason to get stronger. Tyler Steen, I hope, just goes to some kind of meditation retreat and never comes back. So there's going to be better blocking. And I think that you saw when Saquon got the ball and had adequate blocking, he was still the same guy.
Yep.
Now, my inkling would be to say, oh, yeah, Saquon's going to have a better year if he had a better experienced play caller who could necessarily maximize him. And this is where the whole thing comes into play with the unknown. Sean Mannion's never called plays. Is he going to be a deer in the headlights out there where he's never going to make an in-game adjustment? Or is he going to realize, hey, I've got a two-headed monster here with Tank Bigsby and Saquon Barkley. Why not run them until they die? It makes sense. I mean, that's what Kellen Moore did. That was pretty much what Doug Peterson did in the Super Bowl, team. He had LeGarrette Blount and he had Jay Ajayi, and he ran the crap out of them. As much as everybody loves Foles, and I love Foles, and he passed the hell out of the ball, that was still a run-based offense with LeGarrette Blount and Jay Ajayi. So we should be a run-based offense. Base the play action off that. That's why I like the West Coast, because the West Coast maximizes the play action game, and the vertical passing game is not indicative to that. I want to see a hybrid. I want to see the West Coast offense mixed in with the RPO. The one thing that we were successful on during the Super Bowl year, and we didn't do this past year. It's like, let's not do the thing that we were most successful with and do the opposite and just kill ourselves constantly, which is why he's now in Miami being the passing game coordinator. Enjoy.
I know he wanted to be his own person, but you never called plays, so it'd be great if you would have utilized the previous playbook. And we still have yet to see a press conference for Sean Mannion. I mean, in fact, you should probably line up all the coaches' changes for a press conference, because we would like to hear from them. And in fact, the Eagles just got former Texans QB coach Jared Johnson. He's actually joining the Eagles staff. He did interview for the OC job, by the way. He was on the Texans for 3 years. He mentored C.J. Stroud. And did you know, Dan, that he was an undrafted free agent signed by the Eagles in 2011? And if you don't know that, you don't know Jack. Sorry, I can't.
Clearly, I don't know Jack, because I didn't know that. I don't remember him playing, but okay.
I don't know if he played, but he was drafted. Sorry,
Okay,
I
then.
couldn't resist the WIP.
You gave him a plug there.
Oh, sure. And if you want to sponsor this, you don't know Jack. No, just
Yeah.
Dan, why haven't we saw a press conference?
I don't think we're going to see one. I don't know why we haven't, but I guess we're not going to see one. I want to see one, but I guess they don't deem it important enough. I find the whole Jared Johnson thing very weird too because, well, first off, he doesn't have a label, so we don't know what the hell he's going to be in. But the 3 candidates that got second looks as OC, Mannion, Goedert, Johnson, all got second interviews. They're all on this offensive staff now. So
are they mentors to Mannion or in hell? I mean, like, none of them have any experience, right?
Exactly. Jared Johnson never called plays. Josh Goedert called plays for like a minute, and then Mannion never called plays. So it's not like you can take
by community. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Okay, well, you know what? They've got 3 of them, so it's somebody to break the tie.
Exactly. The law of averages says that one person's going to call the right play. And you're going to have Nick standing in the background being like, that's a good call. That's a good call.
Yeah. Oh, my God. This is going to be an interesting time. I mean, literally, preseason is going to be one of the things we're all going to be paying attention to. Dan, before I wrap it up, I got to talk about it. The Eagles Autism Challenge. First of all, a huge shout out to everybody that donated to Dan, myself, and my son Jordan. And I'm pleased to announce my son Jordan, he surpassed his goal like by double because the Eagles actually had, matching donations this past Monday, which up to 50,000, which sold and done in within like 2 hours.
Yeah,
and I believe Dan actually made his goal as well.
I think I made the goal or I'm within $50, but yeah, I'm there. I'll get there. So it's a great cause.
Shout out to everybody. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much. It doesn't matter if you can donate or not. In fact, come down and watch the event on the side. It's a 10-mile bike ride through beautiful Philly. It's something you have to experience.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to bike ride, don't want to walk, fine. Just go down there and take the kids.
Support
have a
the
good
event.
time. Yeah, you don't have to be a kid. Just you can be an adult. You get to meet the players. You could pay for autographs, stuff like that. And they have tons of activities. I mean, Swoop's there. The cheerleaders are there. You got our good buddy Jamie's out there wearing probably the full attire with the mohawk going. So
yep.
It'll be a good time, definitely.
Definitely. Thank you, everybody. The Eagles Autism Challenge is on May 9th. It's going to be fun. Hopefully we get some nice, beautiful weather. We will record it like we did this past one. And in fact, I still have to edit or put some of that together. I don't know what I'm doing with that content yet, but we're still going to record it. We're going to have a good time. Dan, how about you close us out?
Well, for the autism thing, I think maybe we can even corner Sean Mannion into our own interview. But the question is that I don't know what the hell he looks like. So I'd have to Google what the hell he looks like.
Picture. We'll be a picture. Is that him? Is that him? Sean, is that him?
Sean.
You can pay for the upgrade to go into the VIP area. He might be in there, and at that point, I just say we grab him. All right, I won't say that on the recording. So anyway, we'll just corner him nicely. We'll get Sean. We'll get Mylata to actually hold him down a little bit.
Yeah, but definitely it's going to be a great time. Hopefully we do get some interviews with people. I mean, we talked to a bunch of players last year. I mean, we rode our bike for a good portion next to Mylata with just talking shit with them and saying how this is probably worse than training camp and stuff like that, just casually talking. So it's a good time. Hopefully we get some inside stuff. Maybe we'll talk to Jamie a little bit. But look for big things, and free agency starts next week, 6 days. Legal tampering starts in 6 days. So I think we'll have a lot more to discuss. Do I see a resolution to the AJ thing? Probably not, because it's the longest drawn out soap opera in the world. So if you're looking for the Philadelphia version of Days of Our Lives, you come to the right place.
I don't have anything to add on that. This has been the Philly Fan Radio. I'm John Myer along with Dan Palmieri. Go Birds!
Go Birds!